Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you to all of you for taking the time to listen to all this stuff. I'm very impressed with what the 500 startup guys have done, but you also have to remember that it's also a franchise, so we're all in sales. So how do I do this? Can we actually go? Yeah, so I basically build companies. It's very easy because I also have 4 children, and building companies is nothing compared to having 4 children. I'm a creator and an inventor more than I'm an investor, because I actually tried the thing about investing, and it's extremely hard. It's much easier if you're fully involved, and because I came from advertising, that was the first company I did. I saw that being in the early process is not a problem. Of course, I'm coming back to the whole thing with an idea is nothing. But I'm also a guy who comes out of, I work out of passion. So I think this is a classic history where I met some guys who found out that they could gene modify a plant, and if that plant, when its roots would connect with TNT, then it would turn red. So we came on every news media in the world. We were celebrated because we actually made a plant that could detect landmines, and then it would turn red. And I spent 2 years with the guys and $1 million because it was such a beautiful project. The problem was that nobody thought about how do you actually plant this plant. It kind of blows up when you plant it. So that's a classic failure that happens all the time when you arrive with passion, but that's how I do it. I also see the craziest companies in the world. So I have people like this woman. Do we have sound? Doesn't matter, but my inbox is full of this. People who want to start crazy companies, like this woman who wants to start a flute company. Makes no sense, but she succeeded because she had the drive. I've also been extremely lucky to be early into Kazaa, that turned into Skype, that turned into something called Bullguard, that turned into Tradeshift. And I mean, none of this was done because we wanted to build a $1 billion company. It was because Skype was because we had a lot of phone calls internationally and we couldn't pay for it. Then we started looking into the idea of maybe making a service so we could talk for free over the internet. Bullguard was because there was a lot of viruses flying around. So purpose-driven has always been what I've been deepest into, and I've been super lucky to make a big amount of money from the investment is early in Skype. But I didn't even invest in Skype. I just gave them money for their apartments because for me it was a passion. And I've also been lucky to make a lot of money from owning very small shares in companies that I will definitely advise against, because having this very spread angle, I think can only be done by guys like Dave you just heard before, because he's in the center of the startup universe in Silicon Valley. All his friends have been building and himself have been building billion-dollar companies. They are the ecosystem. Here you have to, when you start investing in startups and you start in an early ecosystem like here, I think this is very close to where I came from in Denmark 10 years ago, because there's not really an ecosystem, but there's a lot of brains and you can easily do it. Just be very careful with, do your math when you can get your money back. I'm coming back to that. So what we do, we execute very, very early versions of minimum viable products. And I have people, most of my own ideas from the last 20 years, I've been probably forming more than 300 minimum viable prototypes of products. We hack them extremely fast. We're fully aware, and it's annoying that we keep saying it on stage, but a lot of these companies do die, so we have to state it. And the new thing that I see right now is there's a lot of entrepreneurs doing pretty interesting companies with zero code. They simply just take a small idea. This one's Stuart. He's basically just doing a service on top of Airbnb in Thailand. So he signed up 1,000 homeowners in Thailand. He has zero technology. He has a Google spreadsheet, and he's using Zapier for some integration so he can send himself reminders and the homeowners, and it's all working on Airbnb. It's actually possible. Of course, some of you guys will have to do some deep tech, some really difficult stuff that takes years. But don't be shy to put a hack together that makes sense in the business. I mean, that makes business sense. I think that's what I'm missing a little bit, because ideas are worth nothing, like zero. Let me see. It's all about executing them right now and quick. And then I think I'll just spend a couple of minutes on letting you, I mean, let us think about how extremely lucky we are. We are at the early beginning of what's going to happen. I think we're straight out lucky. So, first of all, if I was thinking about going into startups or anything in this world, and you're spending a Monday here, so you're probably interested, try to understand Exponential, what it means in many senses. Our brains have a lot of trouble understanding Exponential, that if I take 10 steps of 2 meters, I kind of walk 20 meters. But if I take 10 steps, and the first is 2 meters, and then I double to 4 to 8, then I end up walking 1,024 meters. The brain nearly can't understand Exponential, so think about that a lot. Also, for a company, it's very interesting that if you have a weekly growth rate of 5%, then you have a yearly growth rate of 12 times. But if you have 10%, it's 142 times growth. The brain nearly can't take it. And that's also, if you have the chance, or you're rich enough, if you have a rich uncle who wants to pay for you to go to the Singularity University, I would definitely advise for that. It's very, very interesting. And then, of course, you have to grow and understand KPIs. Everything has to be number-driven, also inside your company. But coming back to the beginning, there will be a billion people with a phone in their pocket, new phones coming out over this year. The price is going actually under $50. Most people who get these smartphones around the world, and don't think about the US and Europe. Europe is dead anyway. Just be happy that you're in a growth market. Then you have an opportunity to serve people on platforms that are going instantly online. They never had a computer. They're instantly on this device. And then remember again, go back to the numbers. You know, the winners are the guys who gave away the operating system for the new phone. Android is everything. iPhone is only for you and your rich friends. Android is for the masses, and I think the masses are very interesting to look at. And even Bill Gates couldn't crack that. Nobody has a Windows phone. Kind of weird. Then another big trend is education. There's no end to what you can learn. All my children once in a while come down to the living room and show me that they can play guitar or whatever. And then they just went on YouTube and learned. You can learn everything. And I think that's also something you have to put into your mindset when you start companies, you go into this. Then you have to think about the strange fact. It's natural for my children. They can't even understand what I say when I say that there's free storage and endless broadband. They just think it's totally normal that they're sucking up my fiber net to my home because they're all having 2 or 3 devices running. They're sucking, they're downloading, they're watching TV. They're just using all my bandwidth in a fiber in my home. But that's natural to them. I mean, 10 years ago, we were very, very happy if we could come close to a fiber line. Then a very big thing that you all have to also at least play with if you want to be in this scene is the fact that music and books and maps are now digital. We're not folding a map anymore. It's kind of weird, even here in Turkey, when you see somebody standing with a map. I mean, it's from the last century. You have it on your phone, and it will tell you exactly where to go. Something else that you have to try to understand, and I'm voting a lot for the blockchain, is the fact that there's still a first edition of music like there was back in the vinyl days. Now it'll just be a digital track. I would probably like to buy, because I'm old, I would like to buy the first version of, or distributed version of U2, of their latest song. But how can I do that when it only comes out online? That can be done via the blockchain. There will be many attempts and many ways of doing that. But if you can get that into your heads, how to have digital products and actually be able to sell the first edition, because you have to know it's the first edition. It's good food for thought. Then of course we have to think about, what does it mean with all this automation? Right now we only see it in nice pictures, and we see it from Google, that they're putting out a car. When I see these things in my little brain, I think the other way around. How does this work? Because I'm still a little bit of a geek. I know that when Google started this project, the camera you see on top costed $180,000. How could they ever think about making a self-driving car when the camera would be that expensive? But the Google guys are extremely smart, and they also have a lot of money. But they also knew that the price of this device would go down. So some of the latest cameras, the tablets from Google, from Motorola, just has this camera inside, because now it's down to $200, $100. So they're just betting on again, exponential or Moore's law, that the computer power is going endlessly up, and the prices of all these things are going down. I mean, remember you have a computer in your pocket right now that would 20 years ago cost about $50 million. Then, of course, you have to think about this whole humans will be replaced thing, but more in the sense that there will be demonstrations. There are demonstrations now against artificial intelligence, because it's going to take a lot of jobs away, and it's a really tough discussion, and it's going to be really hard when there are machines and robots, or small robots, or programmable devices that could be like a robot all over. Then how do you do this? How do you create jobs? And how do you avoid that we're not all just going to sit at home? Or you can do like we have in Denmark, where I come from. We have a welfare system, so everybody gets paid to do nothing, because that's how we do it. But we're probably ready for the jobless society without knowing, which may be just lucky. Then of course the 3D printer trade is changing everything. I'm showing you all this just to open the minds, because you have to think much larger if you want to do something significant or just do your own business and understand the technology. Of course, it's interesting that we can print everything, but what is the bigger impact if we can print something locally? Then we don't need all the shipping. Maybe there's so many opportunities to be done. We're going to print our own medicine probably at one time. And it's not so far away, actually. It's not all science fiction, despite the fact that it feels slow sometimes. So exactly how I work, it's more or less like this. Can you turn it up?
Yes. Now I understand you might have some concerns about the financial disclosure. Speak. No. I have 8 people representing me at 8 simultaneous meetings in 6 time zones right now. I sit here, answer their questions, go back and take out the form a single yes or no proposition. Well, then let me give that a try.
Yeah, so I feel extremely lucky that I have a network all over the world, and we've been building companies all over the world. So, of course, it would be beautiful if people would call me with only yes or no propositions. It doesn't happen in reality. But on how to succeed, I think it's extremely important. And I also love that you just have us as motivational speakers. I mean, it could have been Anthony Robbins before me, and I could have been a bad version. We all want to tell you that you can actually do it, but the fact is, you have a huge chance. It's never been cheaper and more possible. You have to be extremely structured. While being creative, how do you be structured? That's very difficult. You have to repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. most of the startups you see right now who are extremely successful, they have pivoted. They have started with something else than they ended up doing as a billion-dollar company. Google went public without a revenue model. Don't go that route, but it's worth understanding. And I think really, you are in a melting pot. You have an extremely big chance of doing unique things here. At least where I come from, people are so lazy, they don't even think about it. Here I feel 18 million people who are extremely vibrant in an amazing city with endless opportunities. And as Dave just said, with this population, you have an extremely big chance of actually succeeding. Think about it, there are more people in India who has a phone than has a toilet. The opportunity is now. So details, execution, and technology. Be very good with, find the team. And there's no formula, I can only state this and everybody can state it, but you have to have a team who really understand their stuff. I have too many people coming at me, who thinks that they have a small idea and then I should finish it by finding the team, polishing the business model and understanding it. No, you have to understand everything and nobody will help you at all. And the team is everything. You have to dream extremely big. You don't have to really care about the rules. You really have to break rules. Of course you don't have to break the law. With Kazaa and a couple of other services, also with Skype, we were sued by most dictators because we kind of took their telco business out of their hand, where their brothers were normally profiting. So we've been there, but this is essential. You have to break the rules, and your mother-in-law will definitely not like you until you make a lot of money or make her daughter happy. Be extremely street smart. Don't forget in all this technology, hallelujah, that it's about selling stuff. It's about basically going to a lot of meetings, convincing a lot of people to go in your direction, convincing investors, convincing employees, convincing your family that it's okay that you work 24/7. And then be intelligent. It's incredibly deep to understand what's happening. First, when you dive into why is Google giving away the Android operating system. It looked so weird when they started doing it. Now it's obvious because everybody can use it. Motorola can be competing with anyone in China on the phones, but Google just owns the search. Brilliant move. It's so brilliant that even, as I said earlier, Microsoft couldn't follow them. Be extremely sure that you like to sell. Because if you go into a startup, it's all about sales. All the time. And then remember that there's probably only one Facebook per decade. All this unicorn stuff, take it easy. Unicorns it's like love. It doesn't come when you look for it. Unicorns come from passion. And of course you have to, it can be very good to build small and fast. And remember that none of all these huge companies, they own zero. I think Uber is the craziest thing on earth. They literally own, there's nothing we couldn't code in here in an afternoon together. It's just execution, it's incredible. Then think about the latest technologies. 15 years ago when we started companies, we had to raise the first $10 million just to buy servers. Now you can go on Google's Firebase and you have access to the whole Google infrastructure. It's amazing. The same with staff. Unfortunately, you have to hire and fire fast. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking into financial technologies. Basically because there's no competition, it's shit boring, and it's such a big market. It's way bigger than what you understand as the internet. And you can do it data-driven. So with one company, Capital 8, we're trying to corner the digital, the digital collateral as an algorithm. So how do you, when you can't have security in a house, you can't go to the bank with your house, but you can go with your software or with your idea. How do you let somebody take security? Very inspired by the extremely impressive guys from Silicon Valley Bank, by the way. We're cracking on to give loans to all the web shop owners in the world because they're the same. They have the same characteristic. They have more together. Web shop owners around the world have more in common than hairdressers in Istanbul. They're using the same technology pieces, and we're working very hard on that. Then I was extremely lucky to be part of building Tradeshift, which is now the biggest electronic invoicing network in the world. And yes, it's boring. I mean, I can't even talk about it at dinner parties because people fall asleep. After Tradeshift, we saw, basically Tradeshift means if you want to send an invoice to Nike, you have to do it on our platform because then Nike get all the invoices in structured. But after that, I saw that it was obvious that you would need factoring, so we're building factoring algorithms for all kind of niches all over the world. Another thing that was obvious was, with Cashworks it's a little bit boring, but I have a lot of people working on this. It works like this, that whenever you send somebody an invoice, we just come up and say, if you want to get your money now, instead of waiting 60 days, just click here. And small companies love this. So with Capital 8 and with Cashworks, I understood a lot about digital money and collateral and how to, I was looking at how do you do something really impactful? Because if you could do both a good business and then help a lot of people or do something with impact. And I was very lucky that the guy kept coming, showing up at my door. He was a former soldier. He studied at Berkeley, and then he was a Danish soldier actually in Iraq and Afghanistan. And he saw that what we have in Denmark, my daughter gets $1,000 from the government to study for free, and free universities. That's pretty cool. The thing is, and she doesn't have to pay the loan back. But the thing is, if you have our passport as Danes, then you have to pay 60% tax over your life, so there is a bill actually. But my friend kept saying that, this is Ferdinand, he talked a lot about all these freelancers, because they are actually all over the world, and we kept talking about maybe we could give them a loan, maybe we could look at where are they in the world, and we found out in Bangladesh there are 500,000 freelancers just working online. A lot of them make only $1 per hour. I mean, $2 per hour. If we could take them out, give them a loan, and then make them educate themselves for 6 to 9 months, we might be able to get them up to about up to $15 per hour for what they do. And that's basically what I've spent my time on. So we've been very lucky that Mohammed Yunus has invested with us in this project, and it's now rolling out in India, in Africa as well. And the goal is, it could be fun to have a Nobel Prize. I'm not sure that I'm smart enough, but we could probably help a million kids who are already on freelance platforms, give them a loan and lift them. So that's what I really want to do with my life, do impact investments that make sense. And here's a small movie about it, if you could turn it up a little bit as well.
In my country, there are many talented people who want to make a difference. And if they can work from their own home, they have a chance. They can earn money. They only need a laptop and access to the internet. And of course, guidance. Coders give us a little amount of money and a perfect guideline to build our career. It will turn an overcrowded country into human resources. It will change my life and the whole development of our country. My name is Ilan. I am 25 years old and I come from Dhaka in Bangladesh.
So there's an opportunity for everyone who dares to do this. You can easily do this in Turkey as well. We also do it targeted women. Yeah, I get emotional every time I see it. Let's see here. I think there should be one more slide. Yeah, That's it. Thank you very much.